Good morning, church.
Good morning.
And thank you, Pastor Slater, for forcing me to give you that bio, but I truly thank you for the introduction. Thank you, First Lady Diane, and thank you, members of this great church, for your warm welcome. The first time that I visited, approximately 2 Sundays ago, I can feel the warmth, and I truly understand and know why my sister and my niece were such committed and dedicated members here. I would like to provide you with a disclaimer. I come on behalf, not on behalf as an FDA employee today. I come on behalf as a citizen of this community, as a friend to Pastor Slater, but also to let you know that my knowledge and education and experience will give me that advantage to bring forth to you some information that I hope you will use it, listen, consider it, for decisions that you have to make with regards to ensuring that your quality of life is where God would lead you to have it to be, and have it where he would have you to be healthy and enjoy life with each other, and we won't have to worry about health. But needless to say, we do. God equips us with educators, he equips us with doctors, nurses, and lawyers to really aid us in making sure that we're healthy enough to be able to come to worship and to fellowship. All right, so I won't be long before you. I'm just providing this information again to arm you with some information that will hopefully help you make decisions with regards to coronavirus that we are currently facing now. Please be diligent and remain aware that it is not over. It is not over. And I just want you to have as much information as I have so that you can make those informed decisions. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. Can everyone see that? Okay. So I have this slide here to let you know that in 2020, the list of the top 10 leading causes of death, that list changed. And it changed because of the deaths that resulted due to coronavirus 2019 or COVID-19. As you can see, this slide demonstrates that COVID-19 was the third leading cause of death in the United States in 2020. That was merely 2 years ago, being third to only heart disease and cancer, as they have been the leading causes of death for the past decade or so. Next slide. But more importantly, as Pastor indicated, or I think it may have been the worship leader this morning, he indicated that some of us are getting relaxed, and we're saying that, oh, this coronavirus is going away now. We can move forward and operate as we were prior to the impact of coronavirus. But this slide right here tells you that just recently, January 2022, coronavirus was the leading cause of death in the United States. And we all live here in the United States. So it was the #1 cause of death in the United States for those individuals ages 45 to 84. Now that may not impact you, but I am in that age group, okay? I know my sister was in that age group. However, equally important, those that are age 25 and 44, coronavirus was the second leading cause of death, as well as those 85 and older. So if it's not #1, it's #2. So it's still the leading cause of death here in the U.S., and this was as of January of this year, and we're just beginning April, right? Next slide, please. I have this slide, it's off a little bit, because I want you to see, I'm a visual person, and I think if you see the numbers, you will really realize it is here. It is impacting and affecting a lot of us at such an astronomical rate that the World Health Organization, or WHO, declared us in a state of a pandemic. And I have a slide that'll go over what is a pandemic, okay? But this slide here says that in the United States, there are currently over 80 million cases of people that have tested positive for the coronavirus. And I believe in the United States, we currently have a population of 332 million. So for those of us who do some good old-fashioned math, we know that's roughly about 26% of the population of people that are affected with coronavirus. So let me make it simple for you. If you have a church here, congregation of about 100 people, that means approximately 25 of those 100 people are going to test positive or have tested positive, right? That's basically 1 in every 5 of us have tested positive or will, perhaps. If we look at the data for Alabama, because we're in Alabama, currently there are 1.3 million cases of people that have tested positive for coronavirus or that are infected with the coronavirus. And that's out of 5 million total population in Alabama. And if we go deeper into Montgomery so that you can really see where you stand and so that you'll hopefully consider not letting your guards down and continue to take the precautions to protect yourself and your loved ones from getting infected. In Montgomery alone, there are 55,000. That's a large number. Although Montgomery has a population of 227,000, that is still roughly about 24% of the population, which is a lot of people. A lot of people. And of those numbers, we have 927 people died, and those numbers change every day. Every day. All right, so that's in Montgomery alone. Next slide, please. So I brought you that information again, as I said. My hope is that you would at least think about some of this information and then maybe consider, you know what, I do need to still take precautions. It is still here. This information is from 2022. We just started this year. This information also is publicly available. FDA, all the information that they gather, those decisions that they make, that information is publicly available. Your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews can help you Google it. It's fda.gov. I do have a slide that'll give you that information, a list of reliable sources, and you won't have to rely upon your neighbor or someone's social media post. You'll have that information for yourself and perhaps be able to engage in a conversation with them and say, no, that's not what I saw on FDA's webpage. Where did you get your information? I, too, have been brought information that I question. Well, how are you telling me this? I work for the FDA. I know where to go and find it, and that's not correct. And I say, come on, let's look at it together. I challenge any of you, if there's anything, any statements that I say, ask a question. You know, Tonya, Lisa, sister, whatever you want to call me, that's not what I've seen. You know, I'm sure when pastor is preaching, he brings you a scripture, and you have your swords with you to reference and make sure he's bringing that word from the Bible and not just making these scriptures up, right? So the same here, arm yourselves. So in doing so, I want to just describe a few COVID-related terms. It's good to understand what they're saying. What do those words mean? You know, if I work with it every day, I'm writing, editing, drafting, talking about it every day, I may understand these words. But if I'm trying to talk to you or if you're trying to make a decision about your health and all you hear on the TV is COVID or FDA approved, you want to know, what does that mean? You know, what does that information mean? So I want to take a few moments just to review some basic definitions and then just highlight a few or discuss a few COVID updates, COVID highlights. I don't have the time today. I know you all want to go home at some point. I could talk about it all day. There's a lot of information. But just to hone you in on some highlights so you can think about how to make sure you continue to protect yourself. And then finally, like I indicated earlier, I want to give you those reliable sources, you know, not your neighbor's social media post or Instagram post or TikTok post, okay? It looks like everyone in here is at the reading age, right? So you can go to those websites and read that information for yourself. FDA, myself included, we are updating that website almost daily to make sure it's out there, it's publicly available. I know there were a lot of questions about how did they get this vaccine out so fast, and we don't trust it. That information is publicly available. You can read everything, every ingredient that's in the vaccine. You can look at the studies that they've done, how many people they tested to demonstrate the effectiveness of that vaccine is publicly available. Next slide, please. Next slide. So as I indicated, I wanted to start off with just making sure you understand some words. And I see some teenagers or youngsters there too. I want to make sure you understand it also, because you too can help your parents. You too have to protect yourselves. So if you understand how this virus can infect you and your friends, you want to be able to protect yourselves as well. So COVID-19, everybody throws that word out. What it actually refers to is it's an acronym, letters that stands for the coronavirus disease of 2019. So that big old word, we gave it an acronym, and that's COVID-19. It is a disease that's caused by a coronavirus, okay? And that coronavirus is the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. So there are different types of organisms, just like there are different boys and girls with different names. So there are different types of organisms. So we'll know, okay, this organism, I need to treat it with this drug or this antibiotic. So we give them names. So the virus that causes COVID disease is the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, okay? It is a respiratory illness, meaning that you breathe it. It's into your mouth, your droplets, your nose, your respiratory system. So you breathe it in, you breathe it out. Okay, so it affects your respiratory system. And you need respiration to walk, to move, to play games. All right, so you don't want that system to be impacted. All right. So that's COVID-19. Let's talk about pandemic. I know everybody's heard that word, pandemic, and we just get on the bandwagon and say, yep, we're in a pandemic. What does it mean to be declared being in a state of a pandemic due to a disease? That typically refers to an outbreak that has spread across different countries. All right, so it's not just in the country of the United States, it's in other countries, France, Germany, Africa. So that's why the World Health Organization makes those decisions, and they declared it in a state, a pandemic. And when that happens, that means that it is spreading so fast and it's such a severe health hazard that we need to do something about it, because we don't want to wipe out the population real quick. So they declared it as a pandemic, and that means, you know what? All those health experts and scientists, we need to get together and see how we can control this and eradicate it and slow it down, stop it from harming so many people. Next slide, please. Just two more terms. Vaccination. You talk about, you know, I'm vaccinated. What is a vaccine? Okay, or what does it mean to be vaccinated? When you're vaccinated, they are providing you with therapy that will boost up your immune system so that if you encounter that organism, your body, your immune system is ready to attack it so that it won't make more to cause harm to your body, to your respiratory system, to other organs, right? So you want to get vaccinated. You want to get that activity in your body so that you can fight it off. Okay, so I'm trying to describe it in some layman's terms so that the younger ones can understand too. Fully vaccinated. I've heard people say, I am fully vaccinated. Well, FDA, CDC, WHO, all of those scientists and experts got together, and the declaration that you are fully vaccinated is when you have completed all of the dosage of whichever vaccine that you choose to get vaccinated with, and I'm going to show you those 3 different types. We have the Pfizer, Moderna, and the Johnson & Johnson. So once you've taken all 2 of those doses for Pfizer and Moderna and the 1 dose for Johnson & Johnson, and you have been boosted, then you are considered fully, you are considered fully vaccinated when you've taken those 2 doses, okay? So once you've taken first dose and second dose for Pfizer and Moderna, you're fully vaccinated. Johnson & Johnson only has 1. All right, next slide, please. Also, 2 more terms, emergency use authorization and FDA approved. I know you've heard that. What does that mean? Some people quick to defend, oh, it's just authorized. They say there's an emergency use authorization. It's not FDA approved. What does that mean? When FDA decides to grant an emergency use authorization for the use of, it could be a device, it could be this vaccine in particular, that means that we have looked at designated information to make sure that it still meets regulatory requirements to demonstrate that it is still safe and effective. We've expedited that review, and we decided that we don't need as much information right now because there is a public health emergency. Once WHO, the World Health Organization, determined that there's a pandemic, that is a public health emergency, and we want to get you that vaccine out as quickly as possible to help people. So we are able to allow manufacturers to sell that vaccine and for you all to use it by providing an emergency use authorization, or an EUA. And it just means that we are looking at it faster. We're still looking at selective information, but it's still information that meets FDA regulatory requirements. It has to demonstrate that the benefits outweigh the risk, meaning it won't harm you as much as it will, to hurt you. There are side effects to vaccines. There are side effects to everything. Every therapy that you use, every drug that you buy, anything that you use, there are risks and there are side effects to using that. But our goal at the FDA is to make sure that it's more beneficial to you than it will harm you. Right? So we look at that when we allow an emergency use authorization, and we want to do it real fast. That's one of the difference between, the next slide, please, an FDA-approved vaccine or an FDA-approved drug, is that we actually are looking at the information more in depth, and we're ensuring that that therapy, that test, that vaccine is safe and effective. And it does not mean that an EUA device is not safe and effective also. It just means we're looking at it faster, and we have selective criteria that will let us know at this point in time it's still safe and effective, and it'll do what it's supposed to do. So if we have a vaccine, we want to make sure that that vaccine protects you from getting a disease. And the important note that I would like to share with you, again, as I indicated, with everything there is a risk. With everything there may be side effects or whatever. But if the use of that vaccine, the use of that drug helps you more than it will hurt you, then it's better, you want to take that risk, right? We take that risk when we walk out this door. I'm wearing heels now. I'm taking a risk that I won't fall down the steps, right? So I decide, you know what, I think I look better in heels than I did flat, so I'm going to take that risk, right? So everything has risk, and we just want to consider that and make sure that those risks, the benefits outweigh those risks. So we're looking at that information. When it's an FDA approved, we take more time, all right, because we want to gather as much information as possible to make sure that we know from that information how this particular vaccine, how this particular device will work. So with the vaccine, the coronavirus vaccine or the COVID vaccine, we looked at the information and be minded. Coronavirus, remember I said it's the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. So there's been coronavirus around. The agency has been looking at it. Our scientists at NIH has always been looking at it, but now we have this coronavirus 2 that now we need to develop vaccines. So they've been doing it. Now we just need to continue doing it faster. And that's what the scientists at NIH did. And as a matter of fact, how many of you are aware that the lead scientist for developing the Moderna vaccine was an African-American female? Everybody is aware. Was anyone not aware? Thank you for being honest. Yes, yes. So the leading scientist for developing the Moderna vaccine was actually an African-American female, Dr. Kizzy Corbett. And I was on webinars and seminars with her personally, describing her studies, the testing that she did to help with developing that vaccine. So they did extensive research. So I implore you, don't believe the fact that, oh, it's so quick, you know, I don't trust it. FDA requires the manufacturer of these vaccines to continue to collect information on how your vaccine, how the vaccine is working. Is it working? Doctors and whomever is administering the vaccine are required to report to the FDA information that they get to indicate that the vaccine is not working. They're required to report if you tell the doctor I had a side effect. So that's important also. If you've taken a vaccine and you feel that, you know, later on, oh, my arm was hurting, or I got nauseated, or I had this severe headache that I never had before, or something else happened, it's very important to let your doctor know, or let the facility that gave you that vaccine know, because they are required to report that information to the FDA. We gather all of that information and look at it and say, I don't know about this vaccine right now. It's causing too many side effects and not enough people are benefiting. But that has not happened with the COVID vaccine. All right, so I want you to let you know we have measures in place to monitor how it's working once it gets out there. You know, you never know. The vaccines, they don't read the microbiology books. They don't read those books, so we don't actually know how it works until it's out there in its population. The manufacturers conduct studies. They're not required to do a study on everybody that's going to use the vaccine, but they try to get representatives from each different group, young individuals, senior individuals, middle age, you know, people in Alabama, people in California, all different demographics areas, all right? And we see how it's going to work, all right? Next slide, please. So now I think it's important just to take a few more minutes just to hit some quick COVID highlights. I don't have to go through all of these slides. If you have a question now, by all means, this is always the best part of presenting is responding to individuals' questions. And of course, if I don't know the answer, I don't have a problem with writing your name, and I will research it and get you that correct information. All right, you have a question? Yeah. Okay. If you want to ask, sure. Oh, no? Okay. All right. So just quick, I wanted to highlight, and some of you may already know this, but I want you to know these are the facts. All right. There are 3 companies which FDA has authorized or approved vaccines to be used for treating COVID-19. They are manufactured by Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. You may begin to see other names like Comirnaty and Spikevax. What has happened is we initially authorized the use of these vaccines through the emergency use authorization. After manufacturers continued to conduct studies, they provided us with that additional information in an application that we can now look at and provide that FDA approval. Once FDA did that, they are able to now give that vaccine a brand name. You've been in the store where you see generic medicine and brand name medicines. So that's what happened. So you may see the term Comirnaty and Spikevax. It's still the Moderna vaccine and it's still the Pfizer vaccine. All right. So they have been approved. The Pfizer vaccine has been approved for individuals 16 years and older. The Moderna vaccine has been approved for those individuals 18 years or older. So that information helps you decide which vaccine you may want to be vaccinated with. And you do have a choice. You can look at that information, and that's exactly what I did. FDA's website provided the information on the testing for the Pfizer, the Moderna, and the Johnson & Johnson. I looked at Pfizer to see how effective it was. I looked at Moderna to see how effective that one was. You know, if this one has far more opportunities to help me than that one, guess which one I'm going to select? But it doesn't mean that the other one still won't work. So we provide you with that information, and you can make your decision, okay, based on that. Johnson & Johnson has been authorized thus far. They have not submitted that additional information to date for FDA to provide approval. It's authorized. It doesn't mean that it won't work and FDA has not looked at it. FDA has, and we've assured that it meets that regulatory requirements and that criteria to make sure that the benefits outweigh the risk, right? So it's authorized for 18-year-olds. So if you want your teenagers, because you know they're going to school, to get vaccinated, the one that they can get now immediately is the Pfizer, all right, if they're 16 years old. All right, next slide, please. And also, the Pfizer has received authorization. Again, we wanted to quickly get a vaccine, make a vaccine available to the public for the younger ones because we know they interact at school. We know parents needed to get their children back to school because some of them may have had to go back to work. And so it was important that we try to get a vaccine available to those individuals. So we authorized a vaccine for those children ages 5 to 15. It's been authorized, which means the benefits of being vaccinated with it outweigh the risk, all right? Moderna, on the other hand, has not received authorizations for the children, but they have submitted that information. So if you prefer to have a Moderna vaccine, that will be coming available soon. All right, next slide, please. And then again, just a reminder, I'm sure you all have heard that now there's a booster available. The reason the booster came about is with anything, like if you're drinking a soda and you have it sitting in ice all day, eventually that ice is going to turn to water and it's going to dilute out your soda, right? So it won't taste as carbonated or like it did initially. So there was some information that perhaps the vaccines may wane over time, right? They still are collecting that data. So in order to be on the safe side, the manufacturers provided information to say if we give them some more of that vaccine, that will add additional protection, right? So just like if we're going outside and you put on sunscreen and you got in the water, or you've been outdoors all day and you want some more protection, you're going to put some more on. So it's absolutely nothing wrong with getting a booster. It's not that, oh, they don't know what they're doing. It's we're gathering additional information, and we're making that information available to help you because we still are in a pandemic. There's discussion that, you know, maybe we're coming out of it, but right now we still are in a pandemic. People are still dying. People are still getting infected with it, and that's causing problems. You may not die, but you may have long-lasting lung infections. You may have trouble breathing for longer periods of time. So it's causing, some people are having terrible migraines that are causing them to be away from work or school. So it's not just killing people, it's causing some bad symptoms also that we would prefer not to have if we can get a 2-second vaccine that's going to protect us from that, all right? So here, this is information to let you know with regards to the Pfizer booster. Once you've gotten those 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, after 5 months later, you then can get the booster that's made by Pfizer. Same thing with the Moderna. After 6 months after you've received both doses of the Moderna, you can then get the booster. And again, it's just going to enhance your immunity, your immune system for protecting you against the disease. All right, so keep in mind, no, the vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting the organism, it protects you from getting the disease, all right? And then with regards to The Pfizer vaccine, again, the 12 years old, Pfizer is really working hard and diligently to try to get vaccines available for our younger children, because we know they have to go back to school. They interact with their friends. You know, they're breathing on each other, and that's how you get the virus. You're breathing, you're spitting, you're touching them after you've coughed in your hands or things of that nature, right? So we know you want to interact with each other, and there is a booster available for the adolescents as well, 12 years old and older. Next slide, please. And just wanted to also let you know, with regards to the booster, there have been questions on whether or not, you know, do I have to get a Pfizer booster if I've gotten a Pfizer vaccine, the first 2 doses? So it's been decided, or FDA has noted, that those boosters, you can use either one, but you cannot mix up your doses. So if you get Pfizer 1, you have to get Pfizer 2 for the doses, but you can get a Moderna booster. The same with Moderna. If you've gotten both doses of Moderna, you can get the Pfizer booster, and the same for Johnson & Johnson, all right? But you still have to adhere to the waiting time frame, whether it's 5 months, 6 months, or 2 months for Johnson & Johnson, all right? And you may ask, why 2 months? I would suspect it's because Johnson & Johnson has 1 dose. It had a less level of effectivity, meaning it may wean down faster than the Pfizer and Moderna. So it's recommended, not as recommended, it's indicated that you obtain your Johnson & Johnson booster 2 months after you receive your 1 dose of J&J vaccine. Okay, next slide, please. And then here, just letting you know, I'm sure you've heard too, that there's talk about a second booster by Moderna and Pfizer that is available. Here again, I'm sure some of you may be aware that people get influenza, get the flu vaccine every year, right? And that's because the vaccine has mutated. It has changed. All of us are made up of DNA, and so is the organism. It's a living thing. So it may change, and what we use the term mutate, so it may mutate probably because enough of us have not been vaccinated, and we allow that vaccine an opportunity to pick up on how that vaccine is going to work. And so they mutate and change so they can survive. And so now we have to change the vaccine or give you some more of that vaccine to boost up your immune system to fight off that changed virus now. Right? And that's where you get the different strains. It's because it changed one thing about that virus, or 2 things, or whatever that particular makeup was, and now you need a different or additional support. Yes. Yes. The booster, yes. Mm-hmm.
After that. Is there a problem as far as that gap?
Right. Great question. So her question was, is there a problem with you still getting your booster if you surpass that 5 month? The recommendation is at least 5 months. Okay, thank you for reminding me to clarify that. So the recommendation is that you wait at least 5 months before you get your booster. So you can go beyond that. That's okay, but you want to get it, you know, as soon as possible, because they don't have the exact data as to when it actually declines and no longer provide you with that protection. Excellent question, thank you. And that's with all 3 of the vaccines. It's at least 6 months or at least 2 months. All right, so they want you to hold off for that time. All right. And that is for the second dose. Here again, the second dose booster is really recommended for individuals over 50 and individuals that are immunocompromised. And that's because their immune system, you know, really doesn't replenish itself and is able to protect itself. You know, in the case, my niece, I would surmise, she was affected with lupus. She had lupus, and so her immune system wasn't able to really rebuild itself up, even though she was vaccinated. You know, the vaccine provided some level of immunity, but perhaps it weaned away fast, and she wasn't able to fight off that infection. All right, so that's really how it works. So don't be alarmed when they say get a booster again. You know, get it again. You want that protection. When you eat dinner today and you go out and you exercise, you use up all that energy, tomorrow you're going to be hungry again, right? So you're going to eat again or you're not? You're going to eat again, right? So, you know, consider getting that second booster if you fall in that category, if you're over the age of 50, or if you have an immunocompromised immune system, meaning that it doesn't work as good as it should, all right, because of whatever other underlying issues you may have. And people with immune diseases, I'm sure your doctor would talk to you about what it's doing to your immune system that's there to fight off foreign viruses when we encounter them, okay? Next slide. And then finally, I just wanted to bring your attention to the different strains of the COVID virus. There are two particular strains, the Delta strain and the Omicron. And here again, you know, they were able to mutate because I think it was a lot of people that were not vaccinated, and so the virus got smart and it changed its makeup so that it can survive. You know, who wouldn't? You may have heard also about an Omicron B1, B2 that's now being discussed. Yes, there are strains out there, but make sure you get all the information from the reliable sources, all right? Some strains, when they come about, you may hear them on the news because we have access to other country information. A lot of strains have originated in other countries, and they may not have come to the U.S. yet, meaning someone hasn't brought it over. And when FDA becomes aware of those strains, we categorize them and then focus on them based on the categorization. Like if it's a strain that's really causing you to have more symptoms, you know, more devastating symptoms. If it's a strain that we see is infecting a lot of people real quick because of it being able to be transmitted from one person to the next real fast. And that just means it's able to replicate itself real fast and overtake your immune system. All right? Yes. Oh, by all means. Okay. The second booster?
Yes, the second booster.
Mm-hmm.
And
great, good for
I
you.
didn't have no problems with the first three.
Okay.
The first booster, no, the other two shots.
Yes.
But with this last one, I had a tiredness that was just almost unbearable. I laid down. I never lay down when I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
And it put a fear in me. You know, I had to really pray and ask God to take that fear away because, you know God hasn't given us the spirit of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it puts a little thought in the back of my mind, if another one comes, should I take it? And I'm going to have to do a lot of praying.
Yes. So let me help you with that.
Please,
That information, that information again is publicly available on the list of resources that I provide you. She indicated that she experienced some side effects. So what's documented is that you're experiencing the side effect because your immune system is actually working. It's fighting it off. It's preparing. It's building itself up. So you would experience some of those side effects. So that's a good thing, you know. From the past, yes. So, great, yes. So don't be alarmed, and your symptoms are over now, right? And she has that level of protection with her versus not getting that reboost of protection and something else may happen, right? Because you don't know that as well. We know that 980,000 people have died from it. We know that 80 million people are getting infected. So there's a high probability that she could get infected. So I'd rather have that one day where I'm feeling a little, not so great, I get over that versus how many days would you be ill if you did not have that protection, right? So yes, you may experience that, and what has been documented is that that's your immune system responding Okay, so it's building it up. It's preparing your system to have those antibodies ready to attack that antigen that you get from that virus. Thank you. Great question. Next slide. I promise you it's only a few more. Here, I just want to remind everyone again that when you get your vaccine, have that relationship with your doctor or with Walmart or CVS, whomever you went to get your vaccine, and if there are any symptoms, because that way FDA will collect that information and say, oh, we had 2 people that felt dizzy after they were vaccinated, or we had 200 people, right? That makes a difference. We're looking at, do the benefits really outweigh the risk? So you can report that information by using this link that's on this slide. And Pastor, will you be distributing the slides? You can, if you like. Or if anyone wants the website, here's the address. And you can send that information using that link, that website, and it'll go to the FDA directly. FDA, CDC looks at that information and they discuss it together, okay? With regards to the vaccine, all right? And that is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, or the VAERS system, right? And here again, it's a surveillance. It's the way we continue to monitor how it's working in the actual community, in the world, in the U.S., in Alabama, in Montgomery. All right, next slide, please. So I would like to leave you with this. Please, please continue to wear your mask. I know it's uncomfortable. I know, takes off my lipstick every time. But if you are in a mixed population, you don't have to wear it at home, because you know your family member, and this could be your family too. You know everyone's immune status or their vaccine status and whether or not they've had it. Please continue to wear your mask. Also, if you're wearing your mask, wear them properly. It is not doing you any good to have it under your nose or under your mouth, because the coronavirus is a respiratory virus. It's going to come out of your nose. It'll come out of your mouth. So if your mask is under your nose, you can still infect people and you can still breathe it in. All right? So wear them properly and continue to wear them. Always try to continue to be physically distant from people where you can. I know we're saying, oh, we're comfortable in here because we feel that, mostly everyone is remaining distance or been vaccinated and probably not going to different states where there's a increased risk of you being infected. But where you can, try to keep your distance. We take a little risk and pray, oh, Lord, please don't let anything happen this time. But then next time, I'm not going to take that risk. Okay, so remember that where possible, right? Always continue to wash your hands before you touch your face, before you put anything in your mouth, before you eat. Please, please wash your hands. Soap and water will get it out of there. All right, soap and water. All right, get vaccinated and boosted accordingly. If you're in that high-risk population, please, please consider it. If you have any questions, you can call me, you can email me. I do not mind walking you through to help you consider, whether or not you think you want to take that vaccine or get boosted to help you save yourself or your loved ones or, others as well. You got to protect not only yourself, but others, because we care about, God said, love everyone. So we care about everyone. And I think the last slide is a list of reliable resources. Here again, different websites. One of the most reliable resources is fda.gov or cdc.gov. If you go to those websites and put in COVID, we have designated pages that's in layman's terms. We have infographics, we have pictures to help you understand how you can protect yourself and how you could easily not be protecting yourself and your loved ones. All right, so take one Sunday afternoon, one Saturday, 5 minutes. Read one page, one thing about something. All right? Thank you all for indulging me. If there are any questions, yes.